My name is Alan Dyck. I'm the host of Trust the Dyck podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about alcohol. And honestly, I love it. And I've been doing it for a very long time. I just stopped recently. And I'm going to tell you the reason why not, side effects, that kind of stuff. I want to start back, from when I was a kid. I was experienced to alcohol at a very young age. My grandparents on both sides drank very, very, very heavily. And it was just a part of everyday life. It didn't matter if it was Friday, Saturday, it was Monday through Sunday. And, that's what I was introduced, and that's what I just thought was normal. With my mom, she was and still is a very big drinker. And, I hope she sees this and maybe contacts me just to say hi, because, we don't have a great relationship for a lot of things, and this is a large reason why. And, obviously I'm sharing that with, I'm looking at the ground. I'm sharing this with you guys as we speak right now. Like I said, I learned to think that this was just a normal way of life. And it's not like my parents were horrible parents. They were good parents on their own, individually and together. And, could they have done different things? For sure. Could I be better? 100%. But I do believe that alcohol played a big portion in some of the things that I was either able to do or not able to do as a child. I want to talk about how, I played a ton of sports. I did a kind of stuff like that. But once again, when alcohol was into play, I might have missed sports, or I might not have been able to be taken to sports, or, certain things were happening. But once again, I was too young to understand the reason why I wasn't able to go, the reason why I had to miss this event, or the reason why my mom couldn't come to this event, or whatever happened. And as I got older, I started to realize that, when we went to my grandparents' place for Christmas, there was a reason why my grandfather acted the way he did, not knowing, that he was drinking as much as he was, because as a kid, you don't think about those things. It's just something that, this is just my grandfather, or this is just my parents, or this is just whatever. And as you get older, you realize certain people are assholes, and you realize that, everybody has a choice, but, this person is definitely choosing to do what he or she is doing, whether it's good for them or not, regardless of what kind of negative influence it has on the people around them. And, I'm not saying that alcohol is bad. I'm saying, obviously, everything in moderation. I'm the kind of person that up until about 3 months ago, which, I'll tell you why, I always look forward to having a couple glasses of wine on the weekend. You know what? I wish I could live in Europe. Italy, I think it has the best nutrition, family-based lifestyle on the planet. They care about family and just hanging out. And obviously, wine and that kind of stuff is a big, big portion of their life. And no one's saying that, wine is bad for you. It's got resveratrol. It's very, very good for the system, and once again, it's everything in moderation. So like I said, I would go ahead and every weekend look forward to a couple glasses of wine. I work my ass off throughout the week. So there's no reason that I can't enjoy a couple glasses of wine and it still shoot me in the right direction, which obviously, given what I do, and I eat, like I said, I practice everything that I say, I put into motion myself. And so there's no reason that I can't go ahead and have a couple glasses of wine and still be okay. And I've been doing this for 20 years. And it still allowed me to get any result that I want in there, but it still gives me a reason to look forward to something else. And it's not that I needed to look forward to alcohol, but it's the social aspect of it. When my girlfriend and I, or my ex-wife and I, wanted to go ahead and sit down and have a glass of wine and talk about the day or talk about the weekend, there's nothing wrong with that, because it was great. It brought us together. It was something that we did together and we enjoyed. I will say that up until recently, a lot of things have been happening in my life for the positive, that I just thought, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just stop drinking altogether and see what happens. And I'm not saying that I had a huge problem, but I am saying that, you know what, that 2, 3, 4 glasses of wine that I had a week, maybe I can do without, and let's see what the positive side effects are going to be for myself, because of the fact that I have been doing the same thing for 20 plus years, having a couple glasses of wine because I look forward to it. I will say that the way I feel on an average day, just taking out those couple glasses of wine and those couple drinks is astonishing. Like the energy that I have is a lot different. I don't get as tired. I noticed that, even though I would have a couple glasses of wine, I would lose my motivation. I would lose that drive to stay awake. And so unless I kept drinking, if I had a couple glasses of wine, I would actually get tired and want to go to bed. But if I kept going 3, 4, 5, I would just stay up because I had to keep going. And I noticed that, just like other things, when your inhibitions are going ahead and be skewed, either I would miss meals, which in turn I'd be pissed the next day because I would go in the right direction, or I would go the opposite direction and consume more food that may or may not have been as healthy as I wanted it to be. Now, in a sane mind, I don't eat bad food at all. And I will say this with a straight face. I do not eat bad food because I know what it's going to make me feel like, and I don't want to feel like shit. But whenever I would have a couple glasses of wine, fuck it. You know what? I'm going to have that stuff that might make me feel like shit because I just don't care. So I will say that since I stopped, 2-3 months ago, I've noticed a big shift in how I feel on a regular basis. A lot of you guys out there that are going ahead and trying to put on, even girls are trying to put on this good amount of muscle and try to get the most you can out of what you're doing, especially with food, training, sleep. Just cutting that little bit of alcohol out makes the biggest difference in your gains. When you consume alcohol, and I mean even at a small amount, not only is it a poison, but it goes ahead and it actually eats away muscle and it doesn't allow the body to go ahead and put on any muscle. So if you think about like this, as a guy, you're putting on 4 to 5 pounds of muscle a year. As a woman, 2 to 3. That's not a lot. So in order to go ahead and maximize the amount of growth that you want to get out of that full year, just cutting that out is a huge game changer. And I will say, not that it was a lot, but for the last 3 months, I definitely noticed that I'm leaner in a different way. I've actually had to up the calories that I'm consuming because for every 5-ounce glass of wine, you're sitting at around 150 calories. And it's not a lot, but you're looking at a bottle. A bottle sits around 900 calories. Now, how easy is this just to dummy a bottle in a sitting? If I'm drinking white wine, because I fucking hate red wine, if I'm drinking white wine, it just tastes like juice and it's gone. And so even though it doesn't seem like a lot to me, it's still 900 calories of going in the wrong direction. And like I've said in my previous podcast, the body burns carbs, fats, and protein. When you consume alcohol, that now comes before carbs. Now, for every 1 gram of alcohol you take in, it's now 7 calories. For every gram of carb you take in, it's 4. For every gram of fat you take in, it's 9. And for every gram of protein you take in, it's 4. So it actually has quite a few calories per gram of alcohol you take in. Now that alcohol has to get burned off before your body even starts thinking of burning those carbs to go ahead and even start thinking of burning the fat that you want to get rid of to put yourself in the right direction. So now, in saying that, I will say that, when I did consume alcohol, the energy that I had would just go through the floor. Like I said, it's a very big demotivator on a drastic level. Like on the weekends when I want to go ahead and do something, if I had a couple glasses of wine and I wanted to go and do some yard work, for some fucking reason, I would just not be able to get to it, even though it was on my list. And I am very good when it comes to getting my shit done. The second I would go and have a margarita or something, I would just continue wanting to drink that. And I'd say, fuck it, to mowing the lawn. Now, don't get me wrong. Is that a good time? 100%. And there's no one's out there to say you can't go ahead and do those things. But I have found that cutting it out completely because of the goal and where I want to get to has helped a lot. For me, with a lot of the people that I'm working with in my world nowadays, none of them drink. None of them do. There's no such thing as, Monday to Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. Everybody's on 110% of the time. And it's so cool to be around these people to see what they're doing. One of my guys, he's becoming a really good friend and kind of a mentor as well, because it's crazy how successful he is at only 40 years old. And his name is Sean, and he stopped drinking when he was 27 years old. And it's so cool to see how happy he can be as an individual without actually having any ounces of alcohol ever. Now, his girlfriend still enjoys her time. He's not going ahead and preaching that you shouldn't. Neither am I. I'm telling you that, it's okay to have a couple glasses of wine if that's what you look forward to. But I'm just saying it's so cool to be able to see the changes in such a positive way in such a short period of time. And then to have the people around you that are doing the same thing and going so far in the right direction faster than I've seen anybody else. Like, honestly, since I've met Dan in January, my life has changed 110%. And so I thought, you know what? I might as well try it out too. And, he said the other day, he's like, you know what? I was waiting for you to say this. And, since you said it, I'm very proud of you. And it was really cool coming from someone like that, because if you want to be the best, you better act like the best. And so that's what I want. And that's what I want for myself. And like I've said in previous podcasts, that's my goal for myself. That may not be your goal. And no one's saying you go ahead and cut alcohol out completely. Like I said, who doesn't love a nice cold glass of white wine? And yes, I said white wine again because I am a chick. Like, it's crazy. But you know what? My goal is to be the best at what I do. And in order to be the best at what I do, I have to be the best I possibly can. And that's, like I said, every single thing that goes inside my body, because I want to go ahead and perform at the most optimal level, like all these other guys are doing. I've got a story, and, this is a client of mine. It's been he's been a client of mine for a long time, and he's a great guy. He's a hardworking guy, owns his own business. And just like me, I've had trouble with alcohol in the past, and this is years and years ago. And, everybody goes through a shitty time in their life. No one knows how to deal with each and every situation. Yours might be drugs, yours might be alcohol, you might be, working an insane amount, but mine was alcohol. It helped me deal with my issue, which I did overcome. And, getting to this point to feeling as good as I do was crazy. With him, it was an issue for him for a long period of time as well. And it's like anybody else, the second it touches your lips, it tastes so good. I'm having so much fun. People, I treat people differently. I act differently. I'm more fun. I get to have more, I get to do more. I get to laugh more. I get to this, that. And this individual kept getting caught up in these situations. And it's not that his business, took a toll. His relationship definitely took a toll, in the sense that when he wasn't drinking, he was on. When he was on, everybody was happy. And it was crazy how different it was. When he was drinking, don't get me wrong, still did his work, still did that kind of stuff, but he wasn't on that level where, his wife appreciated what he was doing. He was attentive to his family. He was paying attention to his kids. He wasn't falling asleep at 7:00. He didn't come home late, that kind of stuff. And that's what I mean. It's like, the better you are as an individual, the better everybody sees you as that individual. And it's crazy how, your wife can be like, wow, I'm proud of you because of the things you're doing and the things you're not doing. And so this ended up becoming a huge problem for him. And a while back, he said to me, you know what? I'm fucking done. I don't want to have another ounce of alcohol again. And he stopped. And it's been 8 or 9 months now. And it's crazy how much more he's gone in the right direction with his business, how he thinks, what he tries to accomplish. His physical appearance has changed. So whenever you're drinking alcohol, just know that, that stubborn fat that you get in those areas that you're like, why the fuck won't this go away? Not only is it built in the kitchen, your abs are built in the kitchen, but what happens with alcohol is you'll actually get fat pockets. And so what happens is those fat pockets stay in those areas that you're not already happy with. And it just aids to that, or adds to that. So just so you know, once again, alcohol has to be burnt off before carbs, and carbs retain water. So that little area that's going to stay heavier, it's because of that. So when he stopped drinking about 8 or 9 months ago, it has literally changed his life on a level that he didn't even thought was possible. His wife is so happy. His business is better. He looks better. He's always on. He's finding other things that he can do that give him just as much pleasure and just as much happiness, as opposed to being like, hey, can I meet the boys out for a bunch of drinks? And then we're going to get drunk, and then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to be hungover the next day, and I'm going to feel like shit, and I'm going to waste a day. Now he's having way more quality time with his kids, and his kids are noticing. He says to me a while back, he's like, dude, my little guy just said to me, Dad, I'm proud of you. His kid didn't tell him why he said he was proud of him, but he knew what he meant. And, that on its own is a huge deal. And as a parent, to take something like that and to continue allowing that to motivate you, there's no other motivation that would be higher than that right there. I think that, for your kid to recognize what you're doing as a parent and tell you how proud they are of you, that's where I always want to be. Like, my little guy bought me a Superman wallet because apparently I'm his Superman. And you know what? It doesn't matter what kind of parent you are. Your kids will always look up to you as you are Superman. And so when he told me that, literally, I was like starting to get all fucking teary, and I'm not that kind of guy, believe me. I don't cry. But, it was cool to go ahead and have that experience put forth in front of me, because it just shows you how important it is to everyone else around you that you're on. And so I will say, since I've made this switch, everything has gotten so much better. And it's definitely made me 10x my business. It's made me feel better. I'm way, the clarity that I have is 1,000-fold. And, even myself, I used to get tired at the end of the evening. So even though my food is on point and I get enough sleep and I exercise and I'm going in the right direction that way, that'll never change. But when I would go home and I would have a drink, I would get tired. And, even though my kids are at the house, I almost felt like I was not necessarily a bad parent, but I was like nodding off, or I would just start to fall asleep and they would have to wake me up and be like, hey, Dad, whatever. And I'm talking after one glass of wine, because after a day of work, the second I have a glass of wine, it automatically just makes me just bring it down. And then I get tired. And then unless I have another one to perk myself back up, you end up just falling asleep. And that's not what I wanted. And, making that switch has been a big deal for me. And I'm going to carry this on because of how I feel. Another big deal is, I didn't know this going in, is your bags under your eyes. Apparently, when you consume alcohol, you don't actually get a good night's sleep. So what happens is, even though, say, you drink too much and you fall asleep and you pass out or whatever it is, so you had 2-3 glasses of wine and you go to sleep, the body will actually not be able to go into REM sleep because of the alcohol. So I didn't realize this as much. And once again, it's not like I was drinking every day, but even on like Friday and Saturday, I'd have some drinks. Friday night, Saturday night, I wasn't getting the best sleeps, and I was wondering why. So I did some research and found out that yes, alcohol does play a huge factor in that. And I noticed that the bags under my eyes were starting to go away after like 2 or 3 days, which was kind of cool, because I was like, fuck, am I just getting older? Is this just the way it's going to be? And I was just like, I was kind of pissed. So I'm very happy that I was able to go ahead and kind of turn that a little bit around. But at the same time, it's who you're around. It's who you hang out with. It's your circle that dictates that the most. And I understand that it's a social aspect. I understand that, we always go out for dinner and it's easy just to have a glass of wine or a drink with a meal, because it's socially acceptable. And I get it. And I totally understand it. And, I love doing it. But I will say, now that I've been able to go ahead and understand how I feel by just cutting it out completely, I'm going to have a hard time going back to it. And you know what? I'm glad, just like when I was 100 pounds overweight, I just thought that this is the way it's supposed to be and I'm not supposed to feel any different. And now that I'm the way I am now, I know how I'm supposed to feel. So going ahead and having, 2 or 3 glasses of wine a week, which is fine, to not having it, I didn't realize how big of a difference it did make in myself and how I feel and my energy levels, and just being way more productive. And ultimately, that's what I want to be. I want to be as productive as possible every single day, 7 days a week. And honestly, I just think that it's okay to enjoy it, but it's also everything in moderation. And I will say this over and over and over again. When a lot of my clients go ahead and have their cheat, because every single person I have is allowed to have a cheat once a week, because you work your fucking ass off. Why can't you enjoy what you want to have? And I'm not saying fucking eat Dairy Queen because you want to feel like shit after, but just, having that steak, baked potato, and a glass of wine, that honestly is a great meal and I love it. And you know what? No one's saying that I'm not going to do it again, but you know what? This is my goal. This is what I want to accomplish. What's your goal and what do you want to accomplish?